Uh, what's on my heart is how much or how important it is that we take responsibility for our lives, that we are accountable for the way that we live, and that we think about what our purpose is. Why are we here? What are we here to do? And I know that this can sound like, what am I talking about? Or, that those are big ideas and big themes. But really, they're not. It comes down to life and death sometimes, or life and disability sometimes. We don't have control over, I believe, everything that happens, but I do believe that our actions can contribute to some of these things that happen to us or the direction that our life takes. I think that we have a tendency, sometimes, I know that this is true for me, we can have a tendency to not want to look at a thing, not want to look directly into an issue, walk through the fire because of the fear that we're going to get burned or that it's going to be really painful. But my experience has been that it may hurt, it may bring anguish, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Years ago, I was writing a book, a nonfiction book on relationships. And before I started writing the book, I was trying to deal with my own stuff. And my good friend suggested that I go see a therapist. I had all kinds of not fulfilling relationships with men at that time and since that time. But I'm going to be writing about relationships. I'm going to be talking to people, interviewing people about relationships. So I wanted to deal with where I was, kind of. But at the same time, I thought, well, if I go to see a therapist, then, because the thing was, I felt like I cannot trust men. I've been hurt over and over and over again. That's how I felt at that time. I didn't feel like I could trust men. The things that happened to me were like, these are things that anybody would think were wrong. So I thought if I went to see a therapist, that somehow she might say that some of the things that happened to me were my fault. And I was like, first of all, no, they weren't. Those in my mind. And second of all, I wasn't ready to face that. So, yet, I did go see a therapist. It was extremely helpful. That was about 30 years ago. And that was the beginning of me starting to be accountable for my life and for my actions. And then, okay, so that was in the 90s. So then around 2009, I met this couple who have become my dear, dear friends. And the now husband of the couple, one day he said to me that my relationships with men had to do with my trust issues. And I was like, what? I was really offended by that. Like, I have been willing to trust, I thought. At least I know I didn't do anything in relationships to cause them to go awry, like cheating. But he was saying that my inability to trust was preventing the men in my relationships from trusting me. So, I mean, there's a lot around that. There's a lot of dig through and to think about, but some semblance of that was true. As I started to shift my mindset around that, which took years, then I started to have different experiences. And I'm only talking about relationships. It's only now in my life that I am having the most fulfilling relationship. And that's beside the point. But that has been about me becoming more open, more willing to trust, and wholeheartedly me willing to trust myself if the relationship were to not work. But I'm really talking about life. And we have so many different aspects to our life. Relationships is one aspect. That's romantic relationships is one aspect. We have our family relationships, our friendships. We have our health and well-being, our work. There is just so much how we operate our lives, our vices. There's so much in our lives, and we know when we're off course or we're off track. And I am just suggesting that within ourselves, privately, that we acknowledge those things, that we look at those things, and we try to heal in the areas that we need to heal, in whatever way that looks like. Because if we don't, if we go into denial and we ignore this stuff, the years go on and suddenly we're sick. Suddenly we're at the end of the road and we're questioning our life and we're having regrets. There's just all kinds of suddenlies. And it is really about us being accountable for our lives, for ourselves. And a whole thing that I have not mentioned in this is how we are here to serve each other. We are here to not just focus on ourselves, but know ourselves, know our passions, know where we thrive, our strengths, and our blessings, so that we can serve other people. So that's what's up. Let's start healing.